Seriously, man, what the fuck have I gotten myself into this time?
Crap keyboards in
Warning, this is a review of an ergonomic keyboard. If you don't like swearing, take cover. Hello and welcome to this review of my AlphaGrip Igrip keyboard. This was a donation from a viewer. Thanks, I guess. My god, I'd had my eyes on this atrocious abomination for a while, but it's so much worse than I had originally thought. Now, to give this a bit of context, I hate ergonomic keyboards because I don't touch type, so I don't have RSI. As a result, these hateful ergonomic contraptions are always super terrible for me because they're intended to function as little like a real keyboard as possible. After all, if you wanted a real keyboard, you would just buy one of those. So for normal people, these diabolical devices are not just pointless, but fucking unusable, and I've had my hands on some of the most offensive pieces of putrid plastic bullshit ever devised by human hands, such as the Safe Type, the Type Matrix, the Moltron, and many others. I think the current record holder for the longest typing demo is the Orbitouch at 8.5 minutes, not bad for 2 short sentences. It literally only took me half as long to do with a bleeding telegraph key, for fuck's sake. So I've had these useless wastes of space in all shapes and sizes by now, but to add insult to injury, this one is shaped like a controller, and I hate controllers. If mouse and keyboard are ebony and ivory living together in perfect harmony, then the controller is a kazoo. I tell you, 95% of the cause of the stupidification of video games is due to them being designed for controllers nowadays rather than mouse and keyboard. Think shooters would still have aim assist without controllers, for example? I don't think so. Anyway, I also don't know how this could be ergonomic because I find controllers hideously uncomfortable to use. My thumbs are hurting just from looking at them usually, but nonetheless I still used this for a whole week to test it out, albeit on and off. I do actually need to get stuff done occasionally after all, and obviously not for gaming. I mean, can you imagine using WASD on this thing? That's this button, this one, and that one. The longer you look at this pattern for the keys, the less they make sense, by the way. Let alone using combinations of them to walk diagonally, for example, like this or this. That's that. Well, you get my point. Yeah. No, thanks. I think I'll skip. Even just for typing, it's already like getting someone with stiletto heels to stomp rapidly and repeatedly on your naked scrotum, so it was hard enough as it was, guys. And that brings us to the layout. Basically, this piece of absolute arse has buttons plastered all over it, including a metric fucktonny of them at the back, and that's what you type with. The locations of some of the buttons are kinda understandable. For example, A, S, D, F are here, where your left pinky finger, ring finger, etc. are held, albeit not consistently, as you can see, but obviously there's more keys you control with those fingers too, so this logic only holds for a small minority of the inputs. For the most part, there is no discernible rhyme or reason to it. Other keys are located on the front in a weird pattern which makes no logical sense. There are a couple of seemingly random letters and functions on these pads here, and some other things as well, plus some down below, which I guess are for your thumbs. But seriously, man, what the fuck are X and Z, or C, Y, K and L and J and V doing here? What in the name of Beelzebub's butthole were they thinking? The buttons on the back are mostly these weird two-parters, and it's absolutely laden with them. Thankfully, this one has cheat sheets printed on the front here and here, so you can see what the buttons on the back do. But I've also seen versions, including the ones that are on their website, that don't have this, which I would imagine ramps up the already pretty steep learning curve considerably. I mean, it's not like you can telepathically feel what the buttons on the back all do, so you'd have to constantly look back and forth. I tell you, leaving that cheat sheet out is an act of sheer cruelty. You know, at least the Safe Type had these stupid car mirror things on it to help you see what's there, but without this cheat sheet, you'd be stranded before you even began. How in the name of Jesus Christ's marinated minge waffle are you supposed to know that B is located here? For fuck's sake. I'd rather eat arse meatballs all day and try and learn this layout by heart. For what it's worth, there's no way to use F keys on this thing either. The buttons themselves are also a big problem because although they feel like very mushy, rickety controller buttons, I think they're just pre-standard rubber domes to be honest, quite a lot of them are also highly sensitive, and it's surprisingly difficult to just hold this device without triggering any of the keys. So you can easily get accidental key presses, which is extremely annoying. Seriously, what spunk-headed cunt weasel came up with this idea? The same problem, to some degree, holds true when trying to put this thing down. See, quite a few times I've had it that this thing just suddenly starts constantly registering a key, out of the blue, even if you haven't used it for a while, and it's exquisitely off-pissing. At first I thought it was my backup keyboard going batshit, but even when I started pulling switches out of that, it was still registering those keys, so that's when I realized it was actually the Igrip at fault. Seriously, who was the fucking dick cheese souffle that let a mistake this glaring get past preliminary testing? I should add that even if you are using it, you can get similar problems. The key feel is incredibly inconsistent, with some feeling very stiff and tactile, and some feeling very light and linear, and it's those latter ones that trigger very easily just from the pressure of your fingers at rest. And because they feel so linear, you don't really notice that you're filling up the screen with T's or whatever either. There appears to be no real logic behind the key feel, like with some specifically weighted keyboards that are calibrated towards relative finger strength and whatnot. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's just crappy manufacturing on the part of AlphaGrip. To make the most out of the limited space, there are 3 different types of shift present on the device: white, green, and pink. The extra functions are listed on the keys, and yes, the ones at the back also have extra functions. Something that you can see on the cheat sheet, but which you'd have to magically know if your keyboard came without it. Again, these are not laid out in any way that would make logical sense to beings from this galaxy. The letters and symbols are in keys that appear to have no discernible relation to them. Really, I mean, this whole thing just feels like some sadistic experiment that some micro-brained pickle tickler came up with to amuse themselves. As if they were thinking, let's just give them a fuck-ugly piece of dog shit with buttons randomly arranged on it and pass it off as a keyboard. Oh yeah, and to make it even worse, we'll make the board super sensitive so it keeps triggering no matter whether it's being held or put down. Moreover, there are so many buttons on the back, and they're laid out in such a convoluted way that it's quite difficult to get the right one sometimes. For example, it's very easy to pick the wrong row of these, and these D-pads, so to speak, are very troublesome to feel out properly as well. Also, the nearer buttons of these 2-parters are rather awkward to use comfortably without accidentally triggering them all the time. I found the best way to use them is to curl your fingers in like this, which gets very tiring very quickly. So yeah, highly ergonomic, obviously. So, apart from being about as much fun and comfortable to handle as some old dude shriveled up nasty-ass ballsack, there are a couple of things that really could have done with quality of life improvements. For example, the keyboard is wired only with a USB-A to USB-B cable specifically, and it even has a USB-A port on it to hot plug a mouse into. The keyboard does come with a small trackball on it as well, although it makes the cursor move so slowly that you may well want to use a mouse anyway, despite the inevitable cable pandemonium that results from that. I mean, look at this shit. The mouse buttons for the trackball are here, by the way, just out of comfortable reach, I might add. I can tell you, this wired stuff does not fit this keyboard very well, and it really doesn't help that they made the cable stick out downwards rather than straight out the back, because like this, it's both in the way, and I reckon this makes the port not last very long. Extraordinarily bad design on AlphaGrip's part. I was really surprised that this thing wasn't wireless, to be honest, and I double-checked to make sure, but the pictures of this keyboard show a wire in use, and the website makes no claim that it's wireless, so I guess it really is wired only. It's absolutely bizarre. It's $130 retail, which isn't the most expensive option for an ergonomic keyboard, but it is pretty steep for a controller, and frankly, I think the quality isn't great compared to any controller I've held so far. Surely at that cost they could have included wirelessness or decent switches at the least. To make matters worse, I really think that this keyboard's ergonomic credentials are very tenuous at best. I mean, I'm aware I'm far from an expert on the matter, but I've seen a whole bunch of other ergonomic keyboards by now, so I know a thing or two about what people like to see in an ergonomic keyboard, and this just doesn't fit in with most of them. For example, it's completely non-adjustable, which means it's really only made for one hand shape and size. And considering the size of this big-ass motherfucker, you better have some pretty substantial mittens. I mean, just look at this thing compared to the Duke, you know, that giant-ass Xbox controller they brought out ages ago. It's ginormous. Now, I have pretty big hands myself, but even still, it feels like I can never grip this piece of pungent dog shit properly, especially without triggering the buttons on the back all the time. Second, a controller seems like a strange starting point because it's not like controllers don't give rise to RSI or anything, Gamer's thumb being a prime example of this. Now, although this thing isn't as thumb heavy as a standard controller, it still seems like a strange thing to base an ergonomic keyboard around. Some of these buttons are really far away and not comfortable to reach either, and I've yet to find a good way to comfortably hold this thing for long periods of time. In order to be able to read the stuff that's written on it, you have to angle the thing upwards quite a bit, and this causes cramping and fatigue in minutes, I found. And you can't really angle it downwards either because the stupid plug gets in the way. Seriously, what gormless dick whistler gave this an okay? Admittedly, and to their credit, they do acknowledge this on their website. They call it ergonomic in a bunch of places, but on one of the pages there is a disclaimer where they state that the Igrip is not ergonomic for everyone. The company has not conducted the requisite studies to confirm its ergonomic claims. So yeah, I guess I was right on that count. But at least that's better than just claiming your product is ergonomic without any evidence to back it up like most ergo companies do. Apart from the ergonomic angle, they pitch this as a high-speed data entry device multiple times. But what they actually claim is 50 plus words per minute after using it for up to 2 months. And on another page, they claim 40 to 60 words per minute after 30 to 60 hours, which they encourage you to do in 1 to 4 months. Most of the time, it seems they don't really know what results you can expect with this thing. They claim 50 plus words per minute, but I've seen a 70 in there as well on one of the pages. But let's be honest, is 70 WPM really something to buy a new keyboard for, let alone something with a multiple month switching barrier, even according to them? Even I can get 70 words per minute done, and I'm not even a touch typist. Most of my viewers can get well in excess of 100 words per minute done, and they don't need a cunting contraption like this for it, so I think I'm well justified in saying that even AlphaGrip's own expected results are underwhelming. The user reviews on their pages claim low WPS counts as well, so they seem to corroborate this too. So, concluding, it's slow to use, takes a long time to master, is badly made for the money, illogically designed, not ergonomic, uncomfortable to hold, and fugly. Who fucking ray, everybody? Another brilliant design. And people wonder why I don't like ergonomic keyboards. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard. I blind? Where the hell is the exclamation mark? Seriously. Pretty sure there is an exclamation mark on this keyboard. Oh, yeah.